In life, you know, there are moments when you stop and ask yourself, how did I get here? Like, why am I standing here? Well, it is definitely one of those moments for me, and I find myself going back to the beginning, back to my roots. I was born to incredible parents, amazing parents who served their daughters in Indian Army. I was firstborn, and as far back as I can remember, I made my parents very proud and happy 99% of the time. Case like exaggerations of personal achievements are allowed from time to time, don't you think? My brother was born a few years later, and even then nothing changed for me. We were both given equal opportunity, and I want to emphasize this. I want to really emphasize this for you because I don't think a lot of people might understand that being equal might seem very normal, but where I come from, India, and a lot of developing countries around the world, more often than not, this is an exception. It's actually a privilege. My first experience of the alarming disparity between boys and girls came at a very young age. I grew up in a middle-class family with extremely philanthropic parents who constantly reminded me and my brother how lucky we were and how giving back to those who were less fortunate was not a choice, it was like blind, simple. It was 7 or 8 years old when my parents started taking me on the visits and traveling clinics to developing communities and villages around the city that we live incomparably. We were back into this ambulance and my parents would provide free medical care to people who couldn't afford it. My job at the AFA was assistant pharmacist, so I would count on the medicine in an envelope and give it out to patients, and I really took my job very seriously. But the more I went on the expedition, the more I began to notice the simple things that distinguish a boy from a girl or a man from a woman. For example, girls wouldn't bow out of school when they hit puberty because they were considered ready for marriage and babies. That's 12 and 13, while boys still enjoy their childhood. Or basic human rights such as healthcare were denied just because they were women. Let's call this whole experience trigger number one for me. Fast forward a few years and many triggers in between. Like a reducer director, for example, early on my career. I must have been about 18 or 19 telling me that if I didn't read to the ridiculous terms or painfully low salary in his movie, that he would just release me. Because girls are replaceable in the entertainment business, that was a memorable one. Made me decide to make myself irreplaceable. And I had really moved the needle for me. It ultimately led me to create the Ranger Program Foundation for Health and Education, and around the same time partner with UNICEF, worked out with my housekeeper daughter. About 12 years ago, I came home from set early one day and she was sitting in my library reading a book, and she must have been a nice new shop reading. So I asked her, what does it mean? I was while in school, and she said, oh, I don't do school anymore. So I asked her mother, and I said, you know, why isn't she cool? And her mom said that her family couldn't afford to send her and her brothers to school, so they chose the boys. The reason, since she would eventually get married and it would be a waste of money. It's where I was completely low, and it shook me to my core. Eventually, I decided to cover the cost of education so that I could continue to learn, because education is a basic human right. And a human necessity, especially today. From that point on, I was determined to make a difference in as many children's lives I could, or whatever is big amount of way that I could contribute. The really beautiful word that recently I think is absolutely appropriate to say to explain what I'm trying to say today. The hand that broke the radars, the proprietor, the mother of tomorrow, the woman shapes the destiny of civilization. Such is the tragic irony of fate that beautiful reaction such as a girl child is today one of the gravest concerns facing humanity. Girls have the power to change the world. It is a fact, and yet today, girls are more likely than boys never to set foot in the classroom. Despite of all the efforts and progress made over the last 2 decades, girl education not just empowers families, but communities and economies. As a result of her education, we all do better. It's just as simple as that.